Can you guys see me? I cannot see myself. All right. Apparently, I am on the screen. There we go. My apologies, guys. I am trying out a new program for the first time, a new way to go live and stream, and I am not quite sure what I'm doing. So, my apologies. But welcome back to a brand new episode of the Jesse Hughes Show. It is good to be back. We have not been back in a while. It is good to finally be back. It is good to see, well, I can't see your faces, but it's good to imaginatively see your face and to uh, say hello and to see what is going on. Oh, the live chat is lively tonight. This is a Jesse Hughes show first. Usually we don't have a very active live chat, but hey, tonight we got some people in here. Got some people going crazy. Um, so welcome back. It's near the end, but I've got your question. I've got your question noted. Don't you worry. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Jesse Hughes Show. We are back. It's been a great Christmas. It's been a great holiday season. I hope year. It is great, great Christmas time. And over Christmas, there was a lot of things that happened, some of which we will get into tonight. Probably saw the title of the episode. You know what we're about to talk about. We're about to talk about Greenland because Greenland will be American whether they like it or not. Now, in the course of planning this episode, we've had some developments. We have had some developments. Um, there has been a deal reached for the control of Greenland for the past couple of days, for the past week or so. You've seen this posturing from the Trump administration on the issue of Greenland. You've seen posturing on the other side of our quote unquote European allies who haven't been really acting like allies now, have they? They haven't been acting like allies. But you've seen some posturing from our quote unquote uh, European allies on the issue of Greenland and the sovereignty of a sovereign nation, which Greenland's not a sovereign nation, it's under control of Denmark. But if he's threatening the sovereignty of a sovereign nation, if he's threatening invasion, then we will stand against him. And what happened, I think a couple people went from a few different countries. You had 12 people from Sweden, a couple guys from Germany, a few people from France. It wasn't really a strong response to some of the posturing of the Trump administration, now was it? But today, breaking news. This broke around about 5:08 p.m. Details of the Trump Greenland deal are starting to be revealed. Now, President Trump announced on Truth Social a deal had been reached, and these are the details. The U.S. will gain control of, quote, small pockets of land in Greenland. The U.S. will be involved in Greenland's mineral rights. Greenland is estimated to hold a reserves of natural resources worth as much as $5 trillion, by the way. The U.S. Golden Dome system will be involved in Greenland when it's built. The deal is designed to block Russian and Chinese influence in Greenland. This will open the door to US backed infrastructure investment, and the duration of this deal will have a quote, indefinite timeline. So President Trump has secured land, he has secured minerals, and he has secured defense in Greenland. Now, this is, of course, a good thing. The United States wants Greenland. Personally, I was one of those kind of, sickos that wanted us just to take the whole thing. I just wanted the whole island for ourselves. However, I guess this deal is a good compromise. It's a good compromise. It's a good show of restraint by the Trump administration, especially in an era where we have learned you can, in fact, just do things. But this is a good show of restraint. This is a great deal. This is a good deal for the United States. Now, some people might be asking, why in the world do we even want Greenland in the first place? And it's closely tied to another event which took place earlier in this year. in which the United States sent troops, some pretty awesome troops, apparently, to go into Caracas, Venezuela, and to essentially extradite the president of Venezuela, one Nicolas Maduro. Supposedly, when this happened, word on the street is that the United States now has this like sonic super weapon that can cause people to fall to the ground and start bleeding from the noses. At least that's what one of the Venezuelan guards said. And also, I don't know if you saw this video floating around on Twitter, but there were about 30 Cubans who were supposedly guarding Maduro, all of which died. And when they were sent back to their countries, when they were sent back to Cuba, you you see this video of their remains being taken out of the plane, and they're all the remains are in boxes about the size of your standard shoebox. I don't know about you, but if I saw that image, I would not want to mess with the United States of America. I completely out of their way. That would not be something I would personally want to get in the way of. But you have people talking, you have people asking questions, you have people saying, "What is our interest in Greenland? What is our interest in Venezuela? Why do these things matter? Why are we not focused on things that are going on at home?" Well, we are focused on things that are going on at home. And the reason that this is such an important issue goes back to a political strategy, if you will, dating back to the 1800s called the Monroe Doctrine. And what the Monroe Doctrine is it was initially this idea that Europe was going to stay out of the affairs of the United States, and Europe was also going to stay out of the affairs of Latin American countries. Europe would end its colonization program. Any colonies that were already there, you could keep whatever, but they were going to kind of step away from their colonization program and they were going to let Latin America, the countries, be free. Initially, there was a very non interventionist tilt to this. And then came Teddy Roosevelt, who introduced the Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, in which not only will Europe stay out of the affairs of Latin America, not only will Europe stop meddling with our southern neighbors, but also the United States reserves the right at any time to militarily intervene in Latin American affairs. And for a long time, this was the policy. It took a back seat during the Cold War. It took a back seat during the War on Terror and Middle Eastern affairs. But now it's back. The Don Roe Doctrine, the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. The Don Roe Doctrine is the law of the land. Now, again, people will ask, well, why does this matter? Well, a big thing is during the Obama administration in 2013, you literally had Secretary of State John Kerry come out and say the era of the Monroe Doctrine is over. And after that happened, in the same year, China introduced its Belt and Road Initiative, in which it was announced that it was going to increase investment and influence in countries across the world. And that is obviously not a good thing. It is not a good thing to have the Chinese have a foot in the door in our backyard. Now, again, a lot of people tilt towards non interventionism on the right these days. And I understand that. I'm sympathetic to it. We spent 20 years in Afghanistan fighting useless wars, fighting wars that didn't matter. And now you have people asking, okay, so what with China? Here's the thing. We can say in our yeah, it's a lot of libertarian minded people that advocate this in this libertarian abstract world where this idea of this non-aggression principle comes into play. We stay out of your affairs, you stay out of ours. It'll be completely fine, right? And the problem with libertarians is that when you push them on it a little bit and you ask, okay, so what happens if somebody doesn't abide by the non aggression principle? They'll say, well, everybody's going to abide by the non aggression principle. But what if somebody doesn't? Oh, but everybody's going to. No, no, they're not. Not everybody is going to abide by this non-aggression principle, whether it's at a local scale or whether it's at an international geopolitical scale. Okay, so we can say China, we're not going to mess with you. China, we're going to stay out of things. You be you, we'll be us. It'll be fine. And China's gonna say, wink, wink, nod, nod. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. And then slowly continue building their influence in our hemisphere and in our country. I mean, look around you. Chinese investors own a large amount of property within the United States. China's not just gonna leave us alone because whether you like it or not, they have grand aspirations of world domination. They have a grand plan, if you will. And, they're not just gonna leave us alone, okay? They are going to be very committed and very focused on meddling in our affairs, even if we don't meddle in theirs. So having a defense mechanism and having these Latin American countries on our side instead of China's is very good. I mean, think back to the Cold War. We all learned in history class, right, about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Russia had nukes 90 miles from Miami in Cuba. And it inspired this whole crisis. And John F. Kennedy had to step in. Um, you had this naval blockade, this show of strength, if you will. But we didn't launch a strike because we didn't want things to get too hot. And eventually, the Russians backed down and took all of their nukes home. Similarly, I can't speak. Similarly, we have a situation now where, for better or for worse, Russia is an adversary of the United States. I don't think that's a good thing. I think we should have friendly relationship with Russia, but we don't. Right now, we don't. And Russia and China are buddy buddy. I mean, the BRICS alliance. Think of the BRICS alliance. What are the countries in BRICS? It's named for Brazil, South American country, by the way, Russia, India, and China. Trying to disrupt American hegemony. Russia has if they launched nuclear warheads, ICBMs, over the Arctic, that would disrupt that they would be within, hours of Washington, DC. If we have a military base in Greenland, we can disrupt that. We can intercept those missiles before they even reach us, and that's part of this Golden Dome project that Trump wants to put together, a defense mechanism to make sure something like that doesn't happen. Now, what about South America? Well, obviously, we don't want China in South America, but at the same time, also there are other reasons to get involved. One, the narco terrorism, the drug trade. I mean, a big factor in going to get Maduro out of Venezuela was the fact that he was complicit in helping in this narco terrorism. He was assisting and making money off of these drug runners. And this is something that is, not good for especially for us. We've had hundreds of thousands of people die from fentanyl overdoses. Now they're down since Trump got in office, but still, people are still dying from these drugs. And on top of that, migration. A lot of illegal immigration and some legal migration that also needs to be stopped. But if you want, my thoughts on legal immigration. But if you want to just focus on illegal, where do a lot of these migrants come from? South America. It is within the American people's best interest to have good relationships with these countries and also to force American hegemony over the Western Hemisphere so that one, we don't have this illegal immigration problem, and two, we don't have China in our backyard, and three, we don't have all of these drugs coming into our country. And there's also another option here. There's also another thing here that kind of plays into all of this. If you look around the world, things are not going well. I mean, just look at Europe. Europe has a mass migration issue, one that we are trying to prevent here, that has completely ruined their society. Europe is on the brink. And if the whole rest of the world collapses, it would be really, really nice to have a bulwark within the Western Hemisphere from Greenland all the way down to the tip of Argentina that will strengthen America's security and make sure that, maybe we don't get involved in what's going on out there, but what's going on out there also can't get involved here. And finally, and the last good reason that this is a good idea, in my opinion, is this idea that, you look at the Arctic, it is a wealth of natural resources. Greenland stretches into the Arctic. If you have access to these natural resources, things are about to get pretty good here in the United States from an economic standpoint. Now, economics isn't everything. We know this. However, it's still an important factor and still something worth considering. It's still something we have to put into consideration. These are all arguments in favor of these interventions. Now, people don't want to admit this, but let's be honest here. America is not just a nation at this point. America is basically a empire without the title. And if we are going to be just a country that only focuses on America, fine, let's do that. But we can't play this simultaneous role of being a country that just focuses on ourselves, but also we're an empire. Pick one or the other. Personally, I kind of like the idea of being an empire. Do I want to be a global empire? No. But do I want there to be a consolidation of power in the United States that has expanse over one specific sphere of influence that is within North and South America? Absolutely. Bring all the troops home from Africa. We don't need them. Bring them all home from the Middle East. We don't need them in the Middle East. We don't need to be involved in these other affairs. Bring them home from Europe. Europe's about to fall apart anyway. Let the rest of the world sort itself out, and let's consolidate our resources and our influence here, because that will make us stronger. One of the things that took down the Roman Empire was the fact that they were stretched too thin. We do not want to be stretched too thin. Right now, we're stretched pretty thin. We want to be strong, and part of being strong is consolidating within one specific area. And I think consolidation within North America is the way to go. Now, you look at Venezuela, you look at Greenland, you have Europe and some South American countries and some people in Venezuela posturing, and you've got the left posturing like, oh, you can't go into Greenland. Oh, you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't just go into Venezuela and kidnap their dictator. You can't you can't do these things. We are the United States of America. We are the greatest country that has ever existed on the face of the planet. We have the strongest military in the entire world. The only thing that holds our military back is ourselves. We can do whatever we want whenever we want. If we want Greenland, Greenland is going to be ours. If we want Venezuela, Venezuela is going to be ours. If we want Cuba, Cuba is going to be ours. If we want Mexico, Mexico is going to be ours. What we want, can get, we should get, we will get. And if you think that you can stand in the way of the United States of America, and you think you can hold us off, and you think that you can prevent us from achieving our goals and putting America first, buddy, you have got another thing coming. We are the strongest nation that has ever existed. And so long as we have the political will to maintain that, we will. You will not step in our way. You will not get in our way. Things will be as they should. And how they should be is what is in the best interest of our people and our nation. and putting America first. Enforce the Monroe Doctrine. Enforce American hegemony in North America and South America. Protect our sphere of influence, which is the Western Hemisphere. And let all the other pieces fall in place as they may across the rest of the world. I don't care what's going on in the Middle East. You know, Iran, they had that thing that happened last week. It almost boiled over. It didn't. I'm glad it didn't. If the Iranian people want to be free, then let them secure their freedom. Now, there is an argument for getting involved in Iran that involves weakening Chinese influence, especially because of the amount of oil that Iran also has. But we can, if we are going to do that, I think we can do that without putting boots on the ground, and I think we should do that without putting boots on the ground. But regardless, let the Middle East handle the Middle East, let Africa handle Africa. The only time that we should go into any other region of the world, in my opinion, is when you have a situation like what happened in Armenia for several decades, or a situation like what is currently happening in Nigeria, where there are Christians at risk who are being persecuted. Then there's an argument that we should step in and do something about that. I think we should in those situations. But in most other situations, let the things fall where they may. Let things just kind of fall in place. Now, let's see what's going on in the live chat over here. We have got a very, very lively live chat at Roblox-FV6ZF. I'm just gonna call you Roblox, buddy. I'm an aspiring Liberty student with he sent a lot of messages. I'm an aspiring Liberty student with a major in politics and policy. I'm entering fall 2026. Any advice? Take as many classes with Professor Van Allen as you can. Um, get involved with groups on campus like Turning Point USA, like College Republicans. Get involved, meet new people. Um, get your foot in the door in places. Have fun, make friends with people in your dorm, wherever you end up living on campus, make friends with people, go to campus community, go to community groups, actually don't just take your education seriously, but take your spiritual health seriously as well, take your faith seriously and go to events and things that will help grow that. Um, yeah. He sent a couple of her chats and then he asked me, "What are your thoughts on Pam Bondi?" I think she's been a disappointment so far. I think that, she has I think she is the main reason if you look at some of these things. I think her and Cash Patel, honestly, are kind of both the main reason that the Epstein thing kind of blew up into the thing it did, because I've been saying this for a while, right? That with the Epstein files, all of the noise about Trump releasing the Epstein files came from outside of Trump. It came from outside of Trump world. During the campaign, he mentioned it twice, right? I went back, I did the research, I looked into this. He mentioned it twice. He mentioned it twice on a podcast when he was asked by the interviewer about it. In the context of other things as well, like MLK files, JFK files, all these records and things. If he would release these things, and all he said was, "We're going to look into it. We're going to see if there's anything there, and if there is, we'll release it." That doesn't exactly sound like a strong plan to me to actually get super duper involved in releasing these things, but you know, people will make interpretations as they will of certain things, especially based on what they want to hear. I mean, that's kind of the way human nature works, right? We make assumptions based on what we want to happen, not always what we think is actually going to happen. I'm guilty of this. You're certainly guilty of this. We've all done it. But the way that Pam Bondi handled the whole thing, I've got the files on my desk right now. The whole influencers getting caught outside the White House in a surprise attack by the media, all of this stuff. Not great. And then you've got several different things that have happened over the course of last year with Antifa riots, with attacks on ICE, with the unfortunate assassination of Charlie Kirk, the martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. You've got all these things that have been happening. And her response to most of them has been lackluster to say the least. Now, recently, I'm going into more detail on this in a minute, but recently we had that incident in Minnesota with the church news from sources that I have. That's There are serious things that are going to go down with that. I think part of the issue of some of this stuff too, though, is that we as a society collectively just lack patience. We want to see results now, and with the way that our legal system is set up, we we can't always see results right now. Sometimes we have to wait. And so I've heard some things and some speculations about certain federal court backups and certain things um, slowing down the pace of the ability of the administration to actually pursue some of these targets. But action is coming. Once again, I'll get into this in a minute, but action is coming. All right. Before we move on, I want to give a word from a sponsor. That's right. We have a new partner on the show. I have reached a new partnership with somebody. Pornography addiction is something that unfortunately a lot of men within our age group have to deal with. It's something that growing up, because of the pervasiveness of it on the internet, I had to deal with. And it is an extremely difficult habit to kick. Luckily for you and for me, there are programs out there designed to help you get away from those addictions if you're struggling. Our new partner, Quitter, is one of those programs. It's an app that you can download to your phone that will give you real accountability, real steps to take, and real action to take in lessening the effects of pornography on your life and leading you to eventually break the addiction for good. This is something that is crucial to becoming a man in this world. Pornography holds you back. It holds you in chains. It is a sinful, disgusting thing. And as new creations in Christ, we should reject it totally. But that doesn't mean there isn't a struggle and a temptation that comes alongside that, especially if you are more predisposed to those types of sins. If you want to quit, go to quitter.com/jhughes today and sign up. That is quitter.com/JHUGHES, quitter.com/Hughes. Go sign up today. Go save your life from this oppressive addiction. The second shout out I want to give real quick. This is not an official partnership. This is not a sponsorship. This is just me speaking directly as a patriot from the bottom of my heart. Our country needs you. Our country needs strong men built for this moment who want to make a difference in our nation, especially in the face of this invasion from the third world that we are facing. Go to join.ice.gov today and sign up. If I could, I would. I'm in a place right now in life that I can't, but if I could, I would. The benefits are amazing. The chance to serve your country in a role that matters is awesome. Go to join.ice.gov today. Sign up now. Go be a patriot. Go help your country. Your homeland needs you. All right, moving on with the show. We've got a couple other things to cover here. Let's see, what should we talk about next? Do we want to talk about Minnesota next, or do we want to talk about the ICE shooting? You know what? I just talked about ICE. Let's talk about the ICE shooting. So a few weeks ago, we had this incident in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, where a crazed leftist woman tried to get into her car and run over an ICE agent. Obviously, the ICE agent pulled out his weapon in self defense and shot her. and killed her. The death of a person, even if they are your political enemy, is somewhat of a tragic thing, even especially if they are someone who has not come to saving faith in Jesus Christ, which from what I've seen about this woman spread across the internet, she does not seem like somebody that has come to saving faith in Jesus Christ. That being said, self-defense is a biblically permissible use of force and something that we should encourage Christians to carry out when their life is threatened. Now, of course, in the aftermath of this situation, the internet, both left and unfortunately some on the right, came in with the most brain dead takes on this situation that you have ever heard. I'm talking about people coming in and saying that he should have aimed for the tires or that he should have let her hit him. Like, these are ridiculous, ridiculous statements and things that we should not be taking seriously. You do not take seriously the folly of a retard. You call it out as what it is, stupidity. But both left and right, you had some crazy takes. I mean, even Lila Rose from Live Action, who's supposed to be this trad-based conservative woman, came out and said that there's a strong argument in favor of the idea that he should have shot her tires. Now, no disrespect to Lila. I love Live Action. I love what they're doing. I don't think that they go far enough on some things. I'm very sympathetic to the abolitionist position, even if I wouldn't classify myself as. But that was a very dumb statement, and one that for me and I'm sure for many other people was very disappointing. Should he have been standing in front of the car? Maybe not. But here's the thing. Fact number one, this woman was very intentionally out there disrupting the operations of ICE. ICE is federal law enforcement. They have the authority to enforce federal law on immigration. She was obstructing that. That is a crime. Fact number two, another ICE agent came over and was telling her to get out of the car because she was about to rightfully be arrested. Fact number three, she had this crazed lesbian partner. She was living with a woman who told her to drive when the ICE agent approached her door and asked her to step out of the vehicle. Fact number five, when you watch the cell phone video that was released from the ICE agent who had to pull his weapon, you very clearly see this woman look at the ICE agent, smirk, and start driving directly towards him. When you look at other angles of other video, you see her wheels were lined up towards him. That is a split second life or death decision that I hope none of us who are watching this ever have to make. I hope we are never in a situation where we have to make that choice. But for this officer, he was in that situation and he chose to defend himself, which was the right decision, in my opinion. So he pulled his service weapon, fired, and neutralized the threat. Still got hit by the car, suffered some bruised ribs from medical reports that have come out after the fact, but he is alive. And he might not have been had this happened. Fact number six, you had a lot of outrage from the left after the fact. And they claim that they were mad about the fact that this woman got shot. And some of them probably were. However, for a lot of them, when you look at their pattern of rhetoric, when you look at their history of rhetoric, when you look at the things that they have said online and so forth, they were not mad that this woman died. They were mad that the ICE agent didn't die. They were mad that the task was not completed. They were upset and angry that this fascist pig, as they call many of us, was not killed. That is the truth of it, and that is something that it's kind of hard to consider because we so often on the right want to delude ourselves into thinking that these are people that are just like us. They are just like us in every conceivable way. We just have a normal political difference of opinion on some things. Maybe they're a little less educated than we are, wink, wink, nod, nod, but they're just like us. No, they're not. All right. These people are not just like us. If I had to guess for the majority of you watching or listening, you just want to be left alone. You just want to live your life. You just want to have your job. You just want to have your family and be left alone and live in a world of peace. The other side of the aisle is made up of a large contingent of people who don't want you to be left alone. They want you to be harassed. They want you to be politically enslaved. They actually want you dead. They are not the same as us. There is a wide chasm of difference between you and between the average leftist. And this is something that many of us have come to an understanding to, but many more of us have to come to an understanding to. There is I don't know how we can share a country with these people. It's becoming less and less possible every day. Especially in the aftermath let's transition topics a little bit, especially in the aftermath of something else that happened in Minneapolis just this past Sunday, where a church was invaded by protesters and harassed. Don Lemon of CNN and homosexuality fame identified this church, identified that one of the pastors was a ice field operative, patriot, total patriot, and went out, harassed this church, brought a horde of protesters with him and started harassing this church. You cannot stay you cannot live with these people. You cannot share a country with these people. They have a fundamentally different set of values and a worldview than you do. It is going to be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to have a cohesive nation with a group of people like this. And I don't know what the answers to how we're going to deal with this going forward are, but we've got to figure something out because this is insane. Now, luckily, somebody in the chat just said Don Lemon needs to be arrested. He is currently facing being charged with the KKK Act, which is kind of the most ironic thing in the world. And many of these protesters who disrupted this church, these provocateurs, are going to be potentially charged with the FACE Act. And this is good. This is something that needs to happen. Like I mentioned earlier, it might not happen as quick as we want it to, but I have it on good authority from sources that I have and people that I know. It's going to happen. And it needs to happen. And it needs to happen as soon as it possibly can. Again, with our legal system, the way it's set up, sometimes things take a little bit of time to materialize. But this is something that needs to happen ASAP. But we have the protesters on video. We know who they are. I can look at a picture of somebody and I don't know anything about them. You have to actually identify these people. You actually have to figure out who they are, and then you can go in and do all the things that you need to do. You have to build a case and have probable cause before you can actually charge somebody, believe it or not. Something that unfortunately few of us seem to understand anymore. Excuse me. There's probable cause here for sure. We got to identify these people. They're going to go to jail. We will win this, and we will send a message. Now, the last thing I want to talk about just briefly, just briefly, let me find it here. I should have had this pulled up. So, last thing I want to talk about. there's a lot of talk. I don't know some of the answers to some of these questions. There's a lot of talk about Trump isn't doing enough. Trump is, some people even go as far as to claim Trump has betrayed us. Trump's not doing enough. Trump isn't getting enough things done. Trump isn't doing the things that I want him to do. He's bought out by Israel. He's bought out by this. He's bought out by that. He bought this and that and there and the other. This is a tweet or a post on X from earlier today from America First Insight. Great account, by the way. 100% would recommend following them. 1 year in. 1 year in. Yesterday marked the 1 year anniversary of the inauguration. 1 year in. Net negative migration for the first time in decades. Hundreds of thousands of interior deportations. That's not enough. Patience. Millions of self deportations. Millions of illegals unable to cross the southern border. Refugee cap lowered by 97%. Not to mention, of what is left of that, the majority of it is reserved for South Africans who are facing persecution, white South Africans. Little tidbit there. First serious action on H-1B visas, but they're not being repealed. You gotta walk before you can run. Ended the CPB-1 asylum app, and I will add, funnily enough, turned it into a self-deportation app. Revoked TPS for several groups, temporary protective status. Cut surplus H-2B visas in half. Effectively made e-visas require a $1 million investment that the majority of people are not going to be able to pay, by the way. ICE, properly funded. Which, speaking of which, because of this new ICE funding, there's not enough deportations. There's 10,000 patriots being trained right now that are about to be deployed onto the streets. Patience. Revocation of dozens of Biden-era executive orders. 2 quarters of massive GDP growth from the private economy. Gas, 5-year low. Inflation, 5-year low. Mortgages, 4-year low. Things are still kind of expensive. I will give you that. I will grant you that. Things are still kind of expensive. But think about where you were 2 years ago and think about now. It's not great, but it's getting better. The messaging on it is really not great. That could be better. Trump RX launching this year. Trump accounts to jumpstart American dreams. Something awesome. Withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. UN fiscal support cut by 90%. Get us out of the UN. Real wages outpacing inflation. Over 2 million jobs for Americans only. For the first time in a long time, Americans are outpacing foreign-born workers. Over 300,000 federal employees fired. Elimination of DEI federally. Creation of Doge. Billions saved. Even more saved by canceling blue state grants. ESG removed from federal finance. Elimination of taxes on overtime and tips. Thousands of illegal CDL school licenses revoked. $0 NSF fee. Vaccine schedule lightened. WHO cooperation scaled back. Petroleum byproduct dyes being removed from our food. Murders down 20%, violent crime down 10%, fentanyl overdoses down 20%. Global politics reshaped in a U.S. dominant position. Maduro captured. We talked about that. Trade deals done globally. And still a lot of other things, such as Greenland today. You had the elimination of USAID completely. You had Planned Parenthood funding revoked. And then there was a little bit of a controversy because they had to put it back because of a federal court thing. They're going to revoke it again. There's a lot of pro-life leaders who unfortunately have been lying about this. You guys need to stop. We have done more. Trump has done more in this past year than I think that he did in his first term. This is only the beginning. We have 3 more years. Trump isn't doing enough. Trump isn't doing what I want. Trump isn't doing this. Trump isn't doing that. Listen, there are serious, valid criticisms that you can levy about Donald Trump and about the Trump administration. But there is a line between having valid criticism and constructive feedback and being a total contrarian for the sake of being contrarian and just doom pilling all the time about everything. And unfortunately, for a lot of us on the right, not me, I've been a plan truster this whole time, but unfortunately for a lot of people, every single thing Trump does, he's not doing enough. He's not doing what I want. He needs to do more. He's not based enough. He's not being a dictator like I want him to be. Well. Pray for these people. That's all I can say. Pray for these people because we're getting more done than I thought would be. Oh yeah, the Board of Peace. I forgot about that. I need to look into the details of that further, but yeah, hopefully it will replace the United Nations. Um, but there's a lot of things going on. And there's a lot more waiting in the wings that you and I don't even know about yet. It's coming. Stay strong, Patriot. Trust the plan. Plan trusters will be vindicated and have been vindicated time and time again. Don't be a cult member. Don't be totally bought in on everything 100% of the time. If you've got a valid constructive criticism, levy it. Say, "Hey, I think we could we could be doing better on this." Valid, but trust the plan. Don't be a moron. And things might just turn out pretty well. Who knows? We will see. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for hopping in here and sticking around with us. It's been great. It's good to be back. Let's get this show on the road, baby. Love you guys so much. Thank you all. God loves you, and so do I. I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you next week. Thank you